at long last, we have gotten to our main event, which is Greg and Subrina Collier. So let me say a few words about them. Chef Greg and Subrina Collier are the husband and wife team behind two acclaimed Charlotte restaurants. More on the way. Uptown Yoke and Leah and Louise, which is a modern juke joint. Leah and Louise was named one of the best new restaurants in the country by Esquire magazine. Incredible. They are also launching their latest venture, Third and Fernwood, a new restaurant set to open in Metropolitan, Midtown, with a focus on African-inspired Southern foods. They are also the creators of the Bayhaven Food and Wine Festival that celebrates Black food and culture, and they facilitate opportunities for people of color in the restaurant and hospitality industries. The pair also serve on President Biden's Small Business and Entrepreneurs Advisory Council. In 2018, they were named Charlatans of the Year by Charlotte Magazine. Greg was named a semifinalist for Best Chef Southeast by the James Beard Foundation in both 2019 and 2020. He was a finalist for the category in 2022. He was the first chef from Charlotte to be named a finalist for the Best Chef Southeast category, while Subrina was named a 2020 James Beard Foundation Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Fellow. I mean, I could go on, but this Southern Catholic is just gonna hand the mic off to Greg and Subrina Collier, everybody. Come on up.
So I've been told that I'm long-winded, and this ain't church. So I'm gonna do a couple of church announcements real quick. I'm gonna let my wife talk. First announcement, ain't no code switching. We gonna be 1,000% authentic. A curse word or two might slip out. Please forgive us. We don't mean nothing by it, and we hope we don't offend anybody. But also, it's part of who we are. So, you know, we're from Memphis, and it is what it is. The second thing I like to do, I believe that a Black woman's belief in a Black man can make him create worlds. A lot of times we have conversations about food and restaurants or whatever, but I think it's so important that I found somebody who believed in me as much as she believes in me, and kind of allows me my space to do whatever I need to do.
And it's not easy. I'll tap that.
God, let me love on you for a second. I just want to love on you for half a second before you tell me how difficult it is.
We keeping it real, so I just want to make sure they know.
Jesus de Cristo, ayúdame. And then before we get into the talk, I believe that the hardest thing about being a creative is that the height of creativity is probably on the opposite end of the spectrum of profitability. And as a restaurant owner, the pain of trying to decide whether I want to blow people's minds or pay the rent is probably the biggest struggle we go through. I know we talked a lot about funding for creatives. Yeah. People don't think it's restaurants or food as a creative expression of a person, but it might be the highest. Y'all remember Grandma, right? Y'all remember Grandma because of what Grandma did and how she put that food together. And that's why you be arguing with folks about how mac and cheese is, because of the creative expression. Y'all didn't pay her for that. Anyway, let's do some slides and let my wife talk.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Again, my name is Subrina Collier. My husband, Greg Collier. Yeah, I put that one in. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was getting into that day. But
lies. You set this whole thing up.
I am Subrina Collier. We hail out of Memphis, Tennessee. If people don't know, we are both born and raised Memphians. I'm from North Memphis, which is Frazier, Rough Side, North Memphis. Greg is from Whitehaven, which is where Graceland is. Where, honestly, people in Memphis, nobody goes to Graceland. None of us. Everybody else goes. Myself have been in the culinary industry since I was 15. It was really just a way of, it was just supposed to be gigs. Started off working at Wendy's, part-time job. I was 15. You're making money, you're going to school. Then I move on to working at local spots on Beale Street. I am always front of the house. I have no desire to stand over anybody's stove. So I am front of the house, bartending before I'm even old enough to drink. Which don't tell nobody we were doing it, but that's just what it was in the South. Hosting, everything front of the house, hospitality. But in all of those things, I was not going to be in culinary. I was going to go and be our family's first pharmacist. I went to a Catholic university, so you were not too far off. I went to Christian Brothers University in Memphis. I graduated out of 11th grade, skipped my senior year, went right into university. Because my mom was like, you are going to school, you're going to do something. But I was working in culinary industry just to make money on the side. Then over time, I started liking it. Then I wanted to do it more than I wanted to do my chemistry labs. I was picking up shifts and skipping chemistry labs, skipping biology labs, flunking out of some of them, and my parents are like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm picking up shifts.
Remember this slide right here, though.
I'm picking up shifts, you know, I'm making money, and all those things. I think in my early 20s, when we talk about pain, there is a pain that comes with not knowing what you are going to do and what you're expected to do. I was expected to go do university. I come from a single mother who was in an abusive marriage, her first marriage. There's a pain in growing out of that, and you automatically, as you're growing up, if we get, you know, being honest, you build a shield around yourself. So I was the only child for a long time. And so for me, it was my family's depending on me, which at that point is my mother. She gets remarried, great husband, and they have my sisters now. But there's still this shield that you put around yourself, and you're like, my family is depending on me. I have to go be something. But I do not want to be in a lab. I don't want to do that. And so there's a pain of failure because you think you're not doing what you're expected to do. I go move away, and during that time in school, I go to this hot wing spot because I like to study in back noise, and it's called Ching's. And there is this guy in there working the counter that is flirting with all the girls that come in.
Not all. All is crazy, y'all. Y'all know how many people came to that restaurant? All is nuts.
And that is Greg. He is working there. The owner's son is working there, and they're best friends. And my roommate starts dating the owner's son. And, of course, I hate him because he's the best friend of my
Hate is also
roommate,
crazy.
you know? And
Hate is nuts.
Because he's arrogant. He's like 21,
Confident.
22. He thinks
You're not telling any of these stories,
he
right? I don't
thinks
like
he's
it.
the
I don't like
finest
it.
thing walking around.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
And, you know, I know we got 15 minutes, but I could go on and on, but I end up...
And I'm long-winded. But go ahead.
We could go on and on, but I go and I decide to move away to Nashville because I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. You know, at one point, okay, I'm going to figure out what I want to do. Your parents are kind of just like, again, what the fuck are you doing? I'm going to move away because I need to find myself. And in my mind, I was going to go live in Nashville for a couple years, and then I'm going to move to Dallas. I don't know why Dallas, Texas was the spot, but I was supposed to go find my husband in Dallas, Texas, and then I'm going to be this pharmacist. I'm still going to be a pharmacist. I'm just doing these side restaurant gigs, but I'm going to go to Dallas and be a pharmacist and find my husband. And Greg and I start dating long distance, and he's like, I'm going to culinary school. And I'm like, yeah, fucking right. Like, you smoke weed every day.
I think that actually makes more sense, doesn't it?
Like, I was like, no, you're not. I was like, no, you're not. Like, you cook chicken wings and you smoke weed every day.
Like, what?
You're not, you know. And I'm like, I need someone that's going to be serious because I'm going to go be a pharmacist in Dallas. So I don't have time to be dealing with your shit. And so one day, he's just like, I'm on the road, and I'm like, I'm telling him I'm headed home to Memphis to visit. And he's like, I'm in Oklahoma, I think in Oklahoma City. He's driving to Arizona to go to culinary school. And I'm like, shit. And so that changed my whole idea of him. When I was upset he was gone.
I knew I had it in, yeah. When I left. Yeah. Let's get to this part right here.
And that is how fast forward how we started dating. we moved to Phoenix, and I know you want to take over as far as the culinary school, but
Nah, I ain't finna tell the whole story now.
I know we moved
hours.
to Phoenix, and we still are in the state of. I know he wanted a restaurant. We're struggling. We're 20-something years old, maybe 23 at this point for me. He's 26, 27. And we're still finding ourselves. The growing pains of finding yourself and trying to survive that doesn't stop. So even from there now to me being 38 now to 23, that doesn't stop the growing pains of constantly finding yourself. We lived in Phoenix, wanted to come back to the South, and didn't want to go back too far south. We didn't want to go back home. We saw Charlotte. I Googled like best places for black entrepreneurs, and Charlotte was like top 4 in the list. This is like 2000.
Whoa, y'all clapping way too quick for that.
This is, keep in mind, this is 2010, and it's like for startup. I didn't look any deeper than that. I was like, I want to go. I didn't look any deeper. So we looked at Charlotte, and he's like, Greg gets to a point where he's going through I'm going to say I think it was a depression where he was just like, I've done what I need to do. I'm going to culinary school. I need to get something out. And I can't get it out under someone else. He was like willing to run other restaurants for like $12 an hour, and they just wouldn't let him do it. He's like, I need to get it out. There's a pain that comes in that because you really got something you want to get out, and you can't get it out, and you can't get it out how you want to get it out. And so for him, I saw him almost going to a shell, become a little depressed, and we went to my parents and was like, hey, my dad took out some money out of his 401k. We're like, we want to open a restaurant. And they were, again, what the fuck are y'all doing? But, I will say my parents, they'll like, my mom and dad, they'll like fuss about it, and then they'll go through and be like, okay, we'll help. And so I want my husband to kind of take over from there, from that aspect. For me, the pain was not knowing. I don't like not knowing, but I wanted to support my husband. That was not my plan to go into, opening a restaurant.
Y'all young women.
I'm
sorry. Let me stop. I didn't want to go there. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
I
baby.
don't like not knowing.
Go ahead, baby.
And so for me, it was stepping outside of myself and giving someone else control, which I do not like. We'll talk about that further in the talk of when you're growing, taking control away, which I do not enjoy still, but it had to happen. Let Greg take over from when we opened the restaurant, and he can tell you guys about that aspect of pain because it's a lot that comes after it.
All right, so I do think it's extremely important to understand that point of it, right? It was, I'll take the blame as the artist of the relationship for this specific purpose. We both view ourselves as creatives in a way. I'm probably the starving artist type, if there's a, you know what I mean? Like, all about the art, all about the craft. Can't do this, can't do that. You're supposed to do it this way. It's got to be done that way. And I never really was conscious about anything else other than my almost carnal need to create. Now, as I get older, I kind of teeter in between both parts. I go from the extreme, I have to create, there's things that need to be said, to let me be consistent and get my mac and cheese recipe right for Thanksgiving. So like I'm kind of in the middle now. Because my granny is my inspiration, or one of my inspirations. Y'all saw a slide of my granny on there. Y'all also saw a slide of my sister, Leah. The restaurant, Leah and Luis, is named after both of those black women who passed, right? 2015 is so crazy because my sister passed in 2014, and she passed November 18th, and then we opened the restaurant December the 4th. Reopened the restaurant December the 4th. There's another slide in there. We had a fire August the 4th. A lot of people really don't know about that year 2014. And I tell people, people were talking about the pandemic, and I was like, we're just sick. Like, it's a lot of stuff going on. We had to struggle. The restaurant had to close, but like 2014 was the year that almost destroyed me as a person. And I think about, they said something about 2015, and like we was talking about, oh man, like the only thing I remember about 2015 is the Patriots won because I'm a Patriots fan. we dealing with it right now, ain't we? Oh God. But there's a picture that I have with a Patriots hat on, and I have 2 bottles of Jefferson's Reserve in my hand. That 2015 was such a tough year for me, dealing with the fire, then dealing with my sister passing. Let me go y'all chronology. So January, her parents had opened a liquor store. Liquor store was failing, so they needed to move in with us in Rock Hill. In May, my mom and my sister came down to move with us in that same house in Rock Hill. So now we got me, Subrina, my mom, my sister, her parents, and her 2 sisters in a 3-bedroom house. When it was just us at first for the longest. So that May, this is going on. We have a fire in August. The restaurant burns down. I just remember walking up to the restaurant and smelling the fire and seeing everything. It was an electric fire, real old building, plastic stuff. And just like saying to her and saying to people it was gonna be all right, but I was really trying to convince myself because, and I can't speak for every man, but my identity as a man was always built on what I did. And I didn't really understand, and I still struggle with it now, who am I if I don't have a thing that I do? So when the fire happened, I was already, I can't be a king of my castle, so to speak, because I got all these people living in the house. And I have to acquiesce to different things because this is my family and I want them to be comfortable. I want them to feel safe and I want them to feel loved. And at the time, my sister was there and I didn't realize she was gonna pass. But part of her being there was so we could spend time with her because she was about to leave this earth. But anyway, so the fire happened and I'm like, now I'm coming home, going in my room. I'm not speaking to people. I'm not engaging people. I'm just coming home, going in the room. Coming home, going in the room because I don't have an escape now. And I also don't have the thing that I think defines me as a person, as a man. Then my sister passes November 18th. And that's my little sister. So it was a big struggle for me because that's my baby sister. Like, I was supposed to be the protector and it didn't work that way. I ain't got no more water. I ain't finna be up here crying with y'all today, though. I know that. So, November 18th, she passed. The fire had happened. We were rebuilding the restaurant, so there was this climax that we were working towards. And then before we even got to the climax, thank you. Before we even got to the climax, it was a huge denouement. What y'all know about denouement? Y'all remember that in English class? Climax, then the downturn of the story, the denouement. Anyway. So it was like we didn't even get to the climax and it just, everything crumbled. So 2015, like I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what we did. I don't remember what the plans were for things. I don't remember vacations or anything because I was in such a deep depression that year. And after 2015, started to work toward things, started to get things better. Then in 2018, we decided to leave Rock Hill. That was such a pain point because we thought we were always gonna be in Rock Hill. We thought we was always gonna be in this small town and serving this community that we fell in love with. But when we had the opportunity to come to Charlotte, we couldn't turn it down. So came to Charlotte, doing our thing. Everything's working well. The James Beard nominations happened. We're in the 7th Street Market. We're getting to a place to where we're grinding. Then the pandemic happened. So while we have the 7th Street Market going and Uptown Yoker's doing this thing, the pandemic happened, we got to close. Simultaneously, though, we're working on Leah and Luis. We're working on the restaurant that's going to be the culmination of everything that I love about food. My sister being extremely, I'm going to do whatever I want to do in this for the recipe, changing stuff out, not following directions, and my granny this is the only way you make biscuits. Sweet potato biscuits. You make biscuits like this, You make chicken like this. So I'm kind of in the middle to where I'm very historically conscious about themes and about Memphis and about where we come from. But also, I say to hell with a recipe in a second and just do whatever I want to do. So I'm kind of in the middle and I try to blend it in that way. I think like 2014 has obviously been a super defining year for me. I can't speak for Subrina as much. And I think a lot of people see we're opening restaurants and kind of think, oh man, they must got it smooth. But nah, we don't, we're not fortunate enough to be able to get millions of dollars of funding from the city like other organizations. People kind of look at us like, oh, y'all a restaurant. Y'all figure it out.
Yeah. Can I add on to that?
Please add on to it, boo.
I know he said 14.
This where it changed a little bit right here, y'all. I don't know if y'all know.
14 was definitely a pain point. It was just hard. We lost Leah. We had lost the restaurant. We were just having to build back up from scratch. I think a lot of people don't understand from the creative side, you get, and it sounds bad, the lows are fleeting, but the highs are too. You may get an accolade, a recognition. It's wonderful. It's great. I still gotta pay rent next week. So it's fleeting in that way.
We gotta pay people to make sure they rent get paid.
And so there's always, for us, it's because we're in it, because people ask us, hey, how does it feel? Blah, 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 congratulations. It feels good, it's wonderful, but you can't rest in that just because, and it sounds really bad, but you just can't rest in that because there's still so much more work to do. And a lot of times it's painful. It's painful to be like, okay, we have to make sure we take care of this, and that. No one talks about that on the creative side, especially from when people see you as like a successful business. If you are not capitalized, we talk about capital a lot because not being capitalized trickles down to a whole lot. Even for an artist, it affects your creativity. You can't get the highest ingredients that you want and do the craziest shit on these plates because we can't afford it. So I need you to kind of curve that. And so at times, I think for creatives,
let me interject in that part.
I think that's
not only can we not.
Yeah.
It's not that we can't necessarily afford it. Sometimes the expectation that society puts on black folks creates this place to where I wouldn't pay as much as you got to charge me for that, but I will pay another company with cooking the same thing more because they deserve it and you don't.
Yes. And so, that's something I think that we have had to, not only from, hey, you're almost justifying what you're doing to white people, shit, you're doing it to black people too, because this ain't black food. My grandma don't make cabbage like this. This ain't cabbage. Oxtail's supposed to be on the bones. I gotta argue with you and shit. And so, it's, for me, how long I got mad? Because, okay. I gotta not only, because when we talk to people, we're not only, people don't understand there's a pain in that too. Because for us, the juke joint was made. Greg was in his mind saying, okay, I want to make a restaurant. He's like, they have Irish pubs. We were like, what's a black Irish pub? We were like, a juke joint. And we're from Memphis, Beale Street. It just made sense to do, right? So I'm creating this for black folks. Everybody's welcome, but I'm creating a safe space for black folks to dine, come be creative, have hospitality. But the same time, you'll go in there some nights, and it's all white folks in there. And I'd be like, damn, do black folks not understand what we're doing? You know what I'm saying? Because I understand because my mother and father don't really eat our cuisine. My mama wants a well-done steak and a potato. She not rocking with none of the shit we doing up in there, maybe the cabbage. And so I have to understand that it's nothing that she's doing to be offensive or my dad is doing to be offensive. That's just what they understand, and that's their generation. And so for us, I think we knew Leah Louise was going to be that after we were okay with it being that, because that is a pain point. Because you're like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. And they were like, baby, this ain't for me. This ain't for me. Make my Long Island. I don't want none of that other shit y'all doing. So, and I know for Greg as a creative, I watch him sometimes. He's like, I'm not doing that. Because they be like, come here, baby, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You
Listen.
know, they'll call him to the table. They be like, I need you to make some of some crab mac and cheese. And he be like, yes, ma'am. And he's like, I'm not doing
No,
this
I
shit.
don't.
You know?
No, I don't.
But
I'm gonna tell y'all something that we talk about all the time in food. The Jedi mind trick with black people in food is that they convinced us that wasn't our food, so much so that we've been given mac and cheese, fried chicken, collard greens, or whatever else, and it's like, oh, that's what we eat. This is what we're supposed to cook. That ain't all Southern food is. Yes. Southern food is a wealth of things. Y'all ever been to Charleston and ate some actual Geechee food? Yeah. Like, it's just different. Barbecue comes from black people. A lot of times we had that conversation. It's like, we have been convinced that our food is such a narrow part of what Southern food is and what Southern culture is that we walk into restaurants like Leah and Luis and say, oh, well, catfish ain't supposed to be like that. Oxtails ain't supposed to be like that. Squash ain't supposed to be like that, because we've been convinced that all we have is this little piece, that we can't do things, that we don't have the creative freedom to express ourselves in a way that, while it's supposed to be about sustenance, it's also a beauty in the flavors. Everything we cook at Leah and Luis is based off Memphis barbecue. Memphis barbecue is salt, sweet, acid, and smoke. If you eat any of our dishes at Leah and Luis, it has at least 3 of those elements in it. It's difficult for people to understand that oftentimes because they think it's supposed to be barbecue because I'm a black dude from Memphis cooking food. That is the pain and the struggle in trying to be creative in the industry we're trying to be in, because I'm trying to show you who you really are. You trying to tell me who you are today without being conscious about all of the creative things that we've done. So instead of you stepping back and looking at this for what it is, Carolina Gold Rice is ours. Aquaculture is ours. Field peas are ours. It ain't just about the things that we know. It ain't just collard greens is ours. Kale is ours. Those are things that we found here as slaves that felt like things that we had in the motherland. There's a story that kind of says, oh, we brought over rice. No, we didn't bring over rice. British and Portuguese people came over there. They saw the rice culture in West Africa and said, man, if we can get these folks to do this over here and for free, you know how much money we'll make? Sound funny, but that's what happened. So they brought us over because of what we were doing in our mother country. And when we came over, we figured out what these things were here. Okra was here. And also, like, getting together with the Native Americans and the corn culture and the beans and all those things, like, it's just super important for me to tell black folks that Southern food is ours, full stop, period. So don't limit yourself to what you think is yours culturally based on what you grew up with, because it's so much more that you're missing. It ain't just like, we love steakhouses. You gonna spend $150 or $200 on tomahawk steak. I charge you $30 for a catfish plate. You look at me like I'm crazy. This ain't no steak. We not at Steak 48. This ain't Roost Chris. How dare you? How dare you have the gall to charge me that? Who you think you are? I'm you. We us. That's who I think I am. I'm sorry, that's it. I'm done.
No. And so, to piggyback on what he's saying, I think now we're at a place where the pain for us is, do I continue? How can I continue to be as creative as I want to be? How can I continue to do events? How can I continue to open up restaurants? But I have to make profit. Everyone knows the dollar is king, so you can be as creative as you want to, but if them bills ain't getting paid, this shit don't matter. And so for us, it's always, there's a balance between our creativity, and it's painful. Oh gosh, it's painful because you still have to be able to pay people. You still have to be able to keep lights on. Where's the creativity that you can keep going and mentor other people? There's a pain in relinquishing, like I said, relinquishing control, and that is, I have to let these other young chefs that are creating do things. I have to let my GM, who might not do everything how I would do it, I have to let her do it within a range of that's acceptable, or I would do it this way. There's a pain in that because these are our babies. Outside of our baby, we end up having our baby, but our restaurants are our babies. Those are extensions of us. That is painful to be able to do that because, somebody says talk shit about you online or says something about you, that's painful. Like nobody can say they don't feel that. Most people in here don't have to deal with that because you can be an asshole at the front desk and no one's going to write a review about you. They don't even know your name. But for us, we got to get it. We got to take it because it's us. There's a pain in that you take and you learn over time. Your skin gets thicker each time, but you still want to make sure people are happy with your product and still happy with your service and still having to take your hands off of it. I know that's been a pain point that we go through, and he and I battle back and forth. And I know we're going over right now, Matt.
I know the luchador is coming soon.
There's a pain.
I'm going to tackle him. He brings his ass on the stage, though. Come on now, Lucci.
There's a pain, and we're married. We've been married now 13 years. The restaurant's been open since 2012. We got married in 10, so we were a newlywed couple. That was a struggle in itself. It's been plenty of times we weren't gonna make it. Just because we had to learn. We were younger, opening up the restaurant, being married, and then you're learning how to deal with restaurant work stress. At first, it was going home. It was going home. I could tell him about my work day. Now you are my work day. You the issue. So now I can't even talk.
Now we talking. We going home talking about each other. Man, I can't believe the server did that, ran that there wrong, but it's you.
I'm like, no, it was the fucking kitchen,
Like, so now we arguing with each other about stuff that we got to argue with. You know what I'm saying? It's just different now.
And
something else, too, I know you want to keep going. I don't think we really touched on. There's a pleasure in working for somebody else and getting a check that I don't think people really understand until you working for yourself. Entrepreneurship don't come with a weekly paycheck now. I know a lot of y'all know that. It don't come like that. You can work as hard as you want to, and you still look at that bottom line at the end of the week. You're like, golly, I got $10? I got 10? Working for somebody else, there's a lot going with that. And you know what I'm saying, especially young folks. I hope young folks understand that, wow, being an entrepreneur, working for yourself and doing your own thing, especially from a creative perspective, is amazing. It ain't easy. It's way easy to get a job for an art company, work 40 hours, get you a check, and do your thing on the side 5-10 hours a week. It's a whole nother ball game when you're doing your own art and you trying to sell it to people, and people are telling you how much your art is worth. Your art? Something you poured your heart and soul into, they say, 120. You like 120? I spent 120 hours on this. Right. All you gonna give me is $120 for my hours? Like, that don't make sense. I should have just kept working at whatever when I was getting $25 an hour. Being an entrepreneur has a lot of benefits for sure, but that piece right there is something that we often talk about when people are saying, like, if I want to open a restaurant, what should I do? If I'm trying to be a chef like you. You trying to be a chef like me for real? Or you trying to be like what you see of me? Don't nobody know about 14. Nobody knows about 12 when we got $7,000, then had to ask for $7,000 more, then had to ask for $7,000 more to pay our house rent, to pay the restaurant rent. We probably had 100 customers in the first month of the restaurant. Eventually we started doing our thing.
If that.
Even that though, like I was like 3 months in, I told her, I was like, I don't know if I was supposed to do this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know if this is what we were supposed to do. I don't know if this is my real calling.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think
chicken and waffles, honest. We would eat at the restaurant for breakfast, eat at the restaurant for lunch, go to the store with the money we made at the end of the day, buy stuff for the next day, and then eat for dinner at the restaurant.
We were just eating
waffles.
Don't nobody
want to do that, though.
Waffles.
Like, don't nobody want to do that, though.
Because we were eating waffles
and
pancakes. That's all we could afford. Every day.
Every day.
And so I think there's a pain. The starving artist, people talk about the starving artist.
We weren't starving because we was eating, but.
We was eating, but there is that pain, like I said, that not knowing. And like when we got 3-4 months in, Greg was like, he was like, I don't know what we doing. He's like, I don't know if I
don't even get a job.
He was like, I'm about to have to get a job.
People don't get it.
And it just so happened where we were, they stopped doing construction. Because keep in mind, we were in a little rundown shopping center. Like, that was at that point, like 50
know Rock
years
Hill
old.
at Mount Gallon Road, Caswell's Bakery over there.
So they were adding that extra lane. That lane wasn't there. That was going on when we opened the restaurant. And so we were just
took
like,
them 3 years to put a turning lane right there too. That's crazy.
We were in a rough place. And I say that even you go back from there to 12 to now, you still have painful points. You still have things you're like, oh, the plumbing has to get done on the building. We got to pay a plumber a couple $1,000. You don't know where that $1,000 is going to come from. And so I think that is something that a lot of people don't talk about, the pain that comes with that. There's a pain in that. There's a financial pain. There's a mental pain. You're stressed a lot of the time. You're stressed not only thinking about yourself, you're thinking about other people because other people depend on you, especially when you become an entrepreneur.
Folks here now. It's about time to wrap it on.
We
know y'all got to run, man. I think it's
Where's
super important to kind of end it on. We've been talking about pain and struggle and the grind and all that. That is part of the journey to the success that we are able to have now, right? It's not just all pain. But I think a lot of people who are trying to do things on their own, who are trying to begin or trying to start, don't take into account that there will be spots where things are gonna hurt. There will be spots where you're not going to be able to get it the way you want it. There will be spots where you might have to do things that you weren't expecting you would have to do on your journey. Keep pushing through the pain is the point. We still push through it now. Now we're in a place to where, we about to have 3 restaurants. And hopefully, we get to 10 or whatever. More than anything, we want to be able to live a life that we can hang out with our baby, and we keep doing what we're doing, hopefully for the creative community, black culinarians, black hospitality folks, and black Charlotte in general. Because what the list did say, it was number 4 for black entrepreneurs. I do not think we're that high up on the list, having been in Charlotte and come, which is why I said y'all clap way too fast for that. I think Charlotte is doing a much better job of being the people who they say they have been for such a long time, especially when it comes to black folks, black creatives, black artists. We're now starting to get the funding. We're now starting to get the media. We're now starting to get the push. I think 2020 kind of accelerated that. But listen, y'all done slowed down a lot since 2020. There was a lot out there in 2020. There was a whole lot out there early 2021. We need that, though. And we don't just need that because we want it and we want to sit down on our laurels. Nah, we need that because we want to improve. We want people who come from other places. We don't want to be constantly compared to Atlanta like, ooh, y'all could be like Atlanta. Nah, we want people to come to Charlotte and be like, man, Charlotte is a great place. Charlotte ain't got to be like Atlanta or Charleston or Raleigh.
Yes.
So it's super important to get that support. It's super important for us to have the opportunity to do this. Baby, do you have any closing words? Because I know we got to get off the board. I just want to
thank you all for coming out. We appreciate y'all coming out, listening to us ramble. Thank you. Thank you both. Oh, my God.
Appreciate y'all.
This is such an amazing thing that y'all are doing. I can't believe we hadn't been here before. But thank you again, and thank you for having us and even thinking of us. Truly, thank you all.
And y'all let us go over. That's what's up.